I'd like to point out that I did not put the name Stud on there. I'm not sure exactly how I got that username on Web. I've never used WebEx before, so maybe that's the default.
There he is. He got connected.
Well, it's certainly fitting. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
If you have a teenage daughter, she probably did it.
That could be it. Yeah.
Wants to embarrass you.
All right. I think we're all here, Deb. So
I don't know if Judy was able to unmute herself yet.
Judy, can you hear?
She can
Judy
hear,
cannot hear us.
Oh,
Judy cannot hear us.
how about I call her and put her on speaker?
yeah, and I think the mute button is in a different spot. It might be that, or no, if she can't hear us.
Can everyone hear me? I couldn't hear you guys at first either, and I went up to at the top at audio video. I had to switch my speaker that it was on. So it might be your speaker issue, it's not a mute issue.
Judy,
I'm not getting.
we can hear Judy.
I mean,
We can hear
I think
Judy.
we can hear you now.
oh, okay.
Okay, Judy, can you say something? Judy? She can't hear us.
She can't hear us, but we can hear her. I'll call
We
her
can
back.
hear her, but she can't hear us.
I think she needs to change her speaker maybe.
Is her volume up?
I would think so. It's probably that audio video thing, like you said there at the top.
do you have multiple monitors? Your
Okay, I can't hear any of you.
But we can hear you.
So I don't know what's going on.
So Dana, maybe tell her about the audio video up at the top.
Yeah, there's an audio video.
Okay, just a second. All right, now, hold on. Somebody say something.
Judy,
I
can
do.
you hear me?
Okay, now we're on.
Okay.
All right.
Can you hear me, Judy?
Yep, we're good.
All right. All right, terrific. I will call us to order here,
Mayor,
friends.
we are
Yes?
not live streamed yet.
Okay.
Can we take a 1 second? I will let you know when we're live.
Perfect.
Thank you. And we are live.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's 12:33 and I call to order this emergency meeting of the Victoria City Council. This morning as mayor, I am calling an emergency meeting of the City Council to discuss the implementation of an outdoor watering ban. This is the only item on the agenda for this meeting. At this time, I'd like to do a roll call of the council. If you are present, please say aye. Chad Roberts,
Aye.
Judy Black,
Aye.
Alvin Hebert,
Aye.
Derek Gunderson,
Aye.
Deb McMillan, Mayor, is present. Council, before us this afternoon is a resolution establishing the outdoor watering ban. I'd like to read the resolution now for your consideration. Whereas the unusually hot weather combined with the long-term forecast has resulted in a large increase in water usage, and whereas excessive watering of lawns reduces the capacity of the city's water treatment plant, placing undue stress on the watering system and lowering the quality levels of water for Victoria residents and businesses. And whereas the water levels in the City of Victoria's water tower are lower than what is desired to coordinate and provide water for fire protection purposes, and whereas due to home irrigation, the City of Victoria's water plant is at maximum capacity and the water system is unable to keep pace with demand. And whereas the City of Victoria recognizes that water is a precious resource, and whereas Victoria residents are encouraged to be more efficient in using water whenever possible, whereas the City of Victoria recognizes that water is a precious resource, and whereas Victoria residents are encouraged to be more efficient in using water whenever possible. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Victoria City Council hereby declares an emergency outdoor watering ban effective immediately, prohibiting all outdoor watering by mechanical or automatic means. This ban is in effect until further notice and includes watering of lawns, gardens, irrigation, and car washing. Be it further resolved, the City of Victoria will allow watering for new sod and seeding of grass with a special permit that is properly displayed, but it will not issue any new permits until the ban is lifted. And be it further resolved, the city manager is delegating the authority to implement reasonable water conservation measures, including establishing outdoor watering ban consistent with the city's ordinance due to the extreme heat that has been forecasted for the summer months. The city manager shall take input from the Public Works Director and the Fire Chief before implementing any conservation measures or bans, and the purpose of this delegation of authority is to ensure the City of Victoria maintains safe water levels and adequate fire protection. Per the City Code, Chapters 25 through 26 and 25, the outdoor watering ban does not apply to special permits for new sod and seeding of grass or business dependent upon sprinkling. The ban also does not apply to private wells. Exemptions are made for a handheld watering of outdoor areas, including flowers and vegetation and water toys for children actively playing. Any person violating the provisions of this section will be subject to a fine. On behalf of the City Council and staff, we thank all our residents in advance for your cooperation so we can meet the fire protection requirements needed in our community. On behalf of the City Council and staff, we thank our residents for your cooperation. Before I ask for council discussion, Ms. Hardy, is there any additional information that staff would like to share with the council or the public?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just real quick, Chief Hagar and Dave Shoger, our Public Works Director, are both here to answer any specific questions that you all may have. But I just wanted to note that the recommendation for establishing this ban has been weighed quite carefully with staff. I'd like to take an opportunity to publicly recognize our Dave Shoger and our Public Works team for their careful monitoring of the situation and their diligence in troubleshooting and trying to keep everything running without issues. This has been a very stressful time for our team, and I appreciate the long hours that they're putting in, making sure that we have adequate and quality water supply in our community. The issue that we have is not, there's been some social media information. I just want to put some information out there to make sure that everybody is aware. This issue is not a groundwater issue. It is a water plant capacity issue. Our water pumps are able to pump more water than our plant can actually produce. The plant capacity issue is resulting in the degradation of the water quality, mainly in taste and appearance. The drawdown is also affecting on the water due to the demand and the increased usage, is impacting our reservoirs and our water tower, as Mayor, you noted in the resolution. And at these levels that we're currently experiencing, it makes adequate fire protection in our community a little bit challenging without council taking any action to put a ban into place or pursue other conservation measures. The Weather Service just predicted today, sent out information today to the emergency managers in the community that they are predicting higher than normal temperatures for the foreseeable future, specifically through June 23rd. Our water conservation efforts mainly have been through our May through September watering restrictions, which has been an ordinance that's been in place for a number of years. I believe that was established in 1998 and last revised in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. We have been proactively putting information out, asking residents for their cooperation and water restrictions. It just hasn't been enough. There has not been enough people abiding by those restrictions to keep our plant operating without putting stress on our water system. So the action here that we're asking council to take by resolution today is really to ensure not only water quality, but it's really to ensure that we have adequate fire protection in our community. And with that, Dave, Public Works Director, and Chief Hager are here to answer any other specific questions that you all may have.
Thank you very much, Dana. Council questions?
I don't have any.
Maybe Deb, you want to roll call that if they have any questions, just go down the line of that. It'd be
Okay.
easier having people.
All right, thank you, Cindy. All right, Judy says no questions. Jarek, questions for you?
Uh, questions, things that we got to think about are for future meetings related to fines for how we manage violations and citations. I currently don't think that what we have in place has enough teeth to make anybody actually abide by this. So if we can do something in another meeting, but I want to make sure that we actually are able to address what we're trying to address. And if Dave and the chief think that this is going to be enough, do we actually have ability to enforce what we're doing? Or is it going to cause us, is this going to cause us some problems in the next few weeks because people want to water their lawns?
Thank you. Anything else, Councilmember Gunderson?
Nope.
Councilmember Roberts?
I would just say, I understand people want to water their lawns. We all want to have nice green lawns. But as Councilmember Gunderson said in a post yesterday, right? No one cares about how green your lawn is if your house is burned down, right? So we want to make sure, we can take care of fires when they're there. And I would just also say, we have, the restrictions as Dana had said, right, in place of, odd even days for watering and certain times that you can't water. And, I would urge people when we eventually do get to water again to stick to those, because I think, this is where we're seeing the issues, right? If people would stick to those restrictions, we probably wouldn't be seeing the problems that we're having now. So a few people are ruining it for everyone, really. So I would just remind people to stick to those restrictions so that, we don't have to do these type of things. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Roberts. Councilmember Hebert?
Yeah, I would just like to add a statement and a question. I too, until I became educated, did not understand the seriousness of the situation that we're in. So I did not, in my own thought, in my own head, take it serious enough, and now I realize that it is pretty serious. So I just encourage others to do the same. My question is, if we can, if the ban is in effect for I don't know how long, right? Do we have data that would tell us how long we could, if we stop watering our lawns, the irrigation piece, what does that look like in terms of easing the stress on the water pumps? Because we had said we're pumping over 3 million versus typically around 700,000. So
Yeah.
do we have data that will suggest that if we ban water for 2 weeks, we could get back down to traditional type levels? Do we have any information that would help us make sense of another measure to make sense of the reason for this?
Councilmember Hebert, Mayor, if I may just jump in
Please.
there, I'm sure Dave will probably follow up here, but that's a good point. One of the things as I'm listening to you all discuss, and I want to answer that question to the extent that I can, but I think it's important for our residents to understand just kind of the order of magnitude of this issue. In a non-summer month, our average use of what we're pushing through our water system and producing at the water plant each day, what's going through our water plant every day is about 650 to 700,000 gallons per day. Our record high, I think it was set last year, was 2.7 million gallons in a day. 2 days ago, we hit 3.1 million gallons, so more than we ever have before. And I believe yesterday, or today, we're at 3.7 million gallons. So we are pushing water through our system at a capacity that our plant has never seen before. And this is all due to irrigation. So to Councilmember Roberts' comments, we do believe that the issues and the challenges that we're seeing today are a result of excessive watering, primarily due to home irrigation. We love making data-driven decisions at the staff level. We're all about that. And so this is something that Dave and his team have data on our monitoring. They have made several, I'll call them tweaks or refinements, modifications to try do things to provide some relief to our plant so it's not constantly running on timing. But really, Dave, do you want to talk about some of the data points that you're looking at to say, yeah, we feel like we're based on this data, this is kind of the levels of where we need to be?
Sure. Thank you. And thank you, Mayor and Council. As Dana mentioned, yes, we have far exceeded any of daily output records in the last week consistently, and have seen that trend ramping up more and more. So I think it was 3.5 or 3.6 yesterday was our 3.5 million gallons, or maybe it was 3.6 million gallons yesterday that was produced out of the plant. So we are far and above any place that we've ever been before, and we're really prepared to go, I guess. Also, I guess we'll start back from the beginning. As Dana had mentioned, we don't have a water aquifer issue. We have plenty of water in our ground. All of our drawdown sensors are showing that the water incoming into our production wells is very sufficient. We're not seeing any undue stress there. The real problem has just been the quantity of water leaving the plant at the same time. So when those irrigation systems, private typically, irrigation systems are turning on, they're all turning on about the same time. So if you can imagine everybody in town flushing the toilet at the exact same time, I mean, that's a lot of water to leave. And you're talking about not just a half-inch water line, you're talking about 1.5 inch water line typically in a irrigation system, or 1 inch water line in an irrigation system. So that is a huge amount of volume, all leaving every residence, well, not every, but a majority of the residents at the same time. And it just is putting us in a position where our capacity to have water in our water tower and in our ground reservoirs, it's put a huge amount of stress on those systems. So providing us with any cushion for fire suppression, if we had to, it would just make that much more challenging and put us in a position where we're not going to be very secure in knowing that we have the ability to do that. So the question was made, going forward, do we have any belief or suggestion that we should be able to maintain a watering system for our residents? And I believe that if we had better compliance with our watering restrictions that we've got in our ordinance, I think that we would have plenty of capacity to provide that. I think the real issue has been that we've got people watering every day, multiple times a day, and at the wrong periods of day. That has just put this strain on our system. So obviously the weather has played a huge part in this, and with this long, hot, dry spell, everybody's watering longer and harder than they ever have before, trying to keep their grass green. So the end answer is yes, I believe that we have the capacity to be able to allow people to water their yards as long as it's managed well, and as long as we have compliance and we have people that understand that that 1 to 1.5 inches a week of water in your yard is sufficient. So whatever that takes to get there is probably the right amount for their yard typically. But there are a lot of variables: soil conditions, soil qualities, and the plants that are growing in those irrigated areas. So I do believe, though, that we do have capacity in our system to be able to provide appropriate fire suppression, as well as clean drinking water, as well as irrigation to our residents, as long as our compliance is there. But it's just not there right now, and that's why this emergency ban has been requested, and I believe that it's the right direction.
Mayor, members of the council, if I could just add one brief comment. There was Council Member Gunderson asked about fines and made a comment about kind of our fine structure and our ability to have some meat behind what we're doing. I just wanted to give you a sense. We were out because we knew this issue was coming, right? Have been monitoring our levels. And our public works team was out issuing citations the last few days. Just in the last 2 days, we're pushing just over 100 citations, and we did not hit all areas of our city. Just so everybody is aware, through our ordinance, your first citation is a warning. The second citation is $75. The next one is $250. So we do have an escalator in there. But most of the people who received those citations in the last couple days were first-time offenders and received warnings.
Dana, can I ask a quick question? Sorry, one came up. So I know we've posted a lot of stuff on social media about the restrictions that we have in place, you know, the odd even and the time of day type thing. You know, there's still lots of people out there in this day and age that still aren't on social media. Do we have we sent out flyers ever or cards? I guess.
It is. Sorry for cutting you off,
No, you're-
Councilmember Roberts, Mayor, members of the council. We do reminders in our utility bills. We also put it in our Spirit. Which is our quarterly newsletter that goes out. People may not be on social media. We hope a lot of people are using our website. That information is also up on our website. So we are using multiple means to get that information out. There are also, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, there's signs in the neighborhoods. Signs are in the neighborhoods that say what our watering restrictions are too.
Councilmember Black.
Yes, I can vouch that they are in Deer Run's neighborhood. I'm just wondering if they're in all the neighborhoods.
Mr. Sugar.
They are in most neighborhoods. We try to keep ahead of it and make sure that they are always up. There have been some areas that have probably not been in more recent developments that might have gotten missed, but we've always been trying to get ahead of it and catch back up to make sure every neighborhood is signed in the entrances.
Terrific. Thank you.
How do we differentiate between neighborhoods that may be on city water in the house and well water on the outside of the home? How do we differentiate between those so that I mean, if technically under this ban, we wouldn't have people with personal wells still, while new neighborhoods probably don't have those. Some of the older neighborhoods do. How are we making sure we're not citing those individuals if they choose to water?
Thank you for asking the question. There is language in the ordinance that talks about they have 5 days for submitting proof that they are using a well or something like that before the fine gets attached to their utility bill or they're expected to have paid. So there's language in there that talks to that.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that if people do get those, I want to make sure they've got an avenue to be able to prove that they're on a well system.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. Gunderson. Other questions? Councilmember Hebert, did you get all your questions answered?
I did. Thank you, Mayor.
Terrific. Thank you. I just have one thing. I just want to clarify. This is an outright ban with the exceptions that were listed in the resolution. At this point in time, we are not allowing people to even odd water. Is that correct?
Mayor, members of the council, yes, that is correct.
Okay, so community members, while this is an inconvenience, we do need to implement this so that we can, for everybody's public safety, we need to be able to suppress a fire should one start. So we are asking kindly and actually begging for your compliance on this resolution. So with that, are there any other further questions or comments?
I do. For the outright ban, that there's still exceptions to that ban, correct? For the sod. So
yeah,
for what we, okay.
Thank you, Cindy. So if you do have new sod or grass seed, you can get a permit from City Hall to allow you to water that. We understand that sod is an expensive investment and you will be allowed to water that sod.
I would just ask that they try to stick to the 1.5 inches as best they can. Talking to some of the landscaping companies around here, they feel that 1.5 inches is at night will be enough for new sod. And if you do it, once a day for a week, then once the roots start to sprout, they can back off that even. So I would just ask that during this time, if they can keep it to a minimum as much as possible. I do understand the investment. I can sympathize with that, but to keep it to a minimum, it would be the ask for people with new sod and seed.
Thank you, Councilmember Gunderson.
I do. Sorry, Mayor. I just with the exception permits that we're giving for sod, are we limiting that so that you know, we're not getting too many people who all of a sudden buy sod during this time and want to water that.
Hardy, you want to speak to that exception in the resolution?
Councilmember Roberts, Mayor, members of the council, yes. The resolution does have a statement, a whereas clause that says no new permits will be issued. We do understand that sod has a long lead time, so you generally don't pull that permit until you know when it's arriving. So we do know of some cases in a couple of the newer developments that sod was ordered last fall and delivery is expected in the next 2 weeks, and some of the conversations that we've had with those builders. And so we do have a tool and a mechanism in our ordinance for staff to review and make that judgment call.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Any final comments from staff? With that, because we are meeting virtually, I'm going to, we'll need a roll call vote. So before making a motion or a second, please state your name. So I will ask now for a motion to adopt the resolution establishing the outdoor watering ban.
This is Derek. I'll second or make the motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Gunderson. Is there a second?
Chad Roberts will make a second.
Thank you, Councilmember Roberts. I'll take a roll call vote now. Councilmember Black,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hebert,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Mayor votes yes. Thank you for all of your help on this. And again, thank you to the public for your compliance with this watering ban. Members of the council, there are no more items to come before the body. Again, make a motion or a second. Please state your name. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn. This is Judy.
Thank you. Can I have a
Motion to
second?
second, Alvin Hebert.
Thank you, Alvin. Now I'll take a roll call vote. Councilmember Black,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hebert,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Mayor votes yes. Thank you. Motion carries. We stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
everyone.